this video is dedicated to a young man, and he knows who I'm talking to. Listen, man. I am going to continue to come and see your mother. I'm going to continue to put pressure on her front and her backside. Now, you're a grown-ass man, and that's her house, right? And she told me I can come over there and tenderize her ass anytime I get ready. That's what I'm going to motherfucking do. And so, you mad. I get you. You're a grown-ass man. Hell, go get you somewhere else to stay. You understand what I'm saying? Because I'm going to keep coming over there doing what I motherfucking do. You ain't heard and seen. You ain't heard shit yet. I hope you ain't peeping. You peeping Tom looking motherfucker. But you ain't seen shit yet. I'm gonna wait that come over there the next time. You think she was screaming last time? You wait that pussy. I got some shit for her motherfucking ass. And your ass can't be nothing but mad. But you can feel a little froggy and grab me. But I'm gonna tell you this: you done fucked up for real. Then I'm gonna try to break your fucking neck, you bitch.
Okay, what the fuck, man? Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Spirit Report podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Spann. This is episode number 354 of the report. And yo, man, happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day for real. For real, man. I hope your Valentine's Day is loving and joyous and all that other good stuff, man, despite what that old motherfucker there had to say, man. If your mom's got some dude, man, that you don't really like, man, you're going to have to chop that up, man. You know, your mama got to have a life too. Mama got to have a life too. But, yo, man, this is actually the second time that I've recorded episode 354. We did this about 2 weeks ago. And there's a little bit of a story as to why the original 354 never came out. Part of it was because, yo, man, as you can see, if you're watching live, man, we got some new equipment here. And I didn't really know how to operate my new equipment exactly. So, I did the entire episode. It was live, but what I found out later was during the the post-production and all that other shit, you couldn't hear any of the audio from the videos that I played on that last episode. So I couldn't just like interject. I couldn't put that audio in and everything. It was a thing, man. It was a thing. And so yo, man, we had to scrap episode 354, the original 354. We had to get rid of it, man. And yeah, you hate for it to happen. But yo, man, podcasting, sometimes it does. Sometimes you get some new equipment, you got to learn it. And with my job and everything, it's kind of like hard to set some of that time to the side. But yo, man, I think we done figured it out. And yo, man, it is what it is. Hopefully, though, if you guys are listening to this later, this sounds a lot better, man. I think the sound quality is like, first things first, when it comes to podcasting, man, sound quality is number one, right? Content number two, but because if the shit doesn't sound good, people ain't gonna listen to what the fuck you're talking about anyway. So hopefully the sound quality is good, and hopefully you guys watching here live, the sound quality is good for you too, man. And hopefully we can keep this shit looking good and sounding good going forward, man. Real talk. But before we get into the show, man, of course, I got to remind you guys how to get in touch with us over here at the Spirit Report podcast and let your voice be heard. You can go ahead and hit us up at our hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. Leave us those voicemail messages, and of course, those messages will get responded to here. They'll get played here and responded to here live on the show. Hit up the number, area code 313-288-0485. You can also email us here at feedback@thespannreport.com. That's feedback@thespannreport.com. Go ahead, leave us those emails, and of course, those emails will get read here and replied to here live on the show as well. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spann. So go ahead, follow me there, chop it up with your man Spann throughout the week. Also, hit up our website at www.thespannreport.com. You can go there, watch replays of the show. You can vote in the polls when we decide to put those polls up. You can donate to the show as often as you like, as much as you like, and of course, we really do appreciate every dime over here at the Spirit Report Podcast Network. Also, hit up our store over there at the website, man. Get yourself some merch, man. Cop yourself a nice fly Spirit Report Podcast Network t-shirt, man. Get yourself a coffee mug. Get yourself a hoodie. Get yourself something, get you some stickers or something, Let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Spirit Report Podcast Network. Also, hit us up with a 5-star review on iTunes and or Stitcher Radio. Those 5-star reviews are the ones that get read here live on the show. We appreciate everybody who goes about the business of doing that. Doesn't cost you a dime, just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Spirit Report Podcast Network, man. Real talk. And yo, man, it has been a couple weeks since the last time I talked to y'all, man. Last time I talked to y'all, I had the homies Cook and Stephanie on the show, man. Had a really good time chopping it up with them, and we got to have them on again soon, man. I really got to get my recording schedule down, because it's been hell. These like 2022 has not been kind to your boy as far as podcasting is concerned, man. It's been hell to try to get a consistent rhythm going on with the podcast process, man. But yo, we're gonna try to get this one here out, and we're gonna try to, make sure we do this on a more consistent basis, man. And yeah, it is what it is. But before we get into everything, man, of course, like I said, we do we do have the listener feedback and stuff like that. So I got some listener feedback emails that we got here. And my wife is texting me, and no, baby, I haven't eaten. Hold on a second. All right, let me text that back to her. All right, and yeah, let me go into our emails here, and let's see what the people are talking about, so they can get their responses here, man. And there's a lot of fucking emails in here. Jesus Christ, man. Oh, wrong email address. My bad. Sorry, y'all. Okay, so our first email here comes from it comes from Reggie. Reggie writes in to say, "Hey Spann, I didn't realize that I come across that way in my correspondence with you. As I said before, I think you're a good dude, and I love listening to your show." So right here, Reggie is responding to. So the last time we were on, both Cook and Stephanie kind of joked with with Reggie about some of the ways in which he writes the emails. Reggie tends to have a way of excuse me, presenting a counterpoint. And he is that wasn't the first time that has actually been brought up to me. Was that like, yo, Reggie brings up a counterpoint all the time. Well, it's just the way that he does it, right? It's like, oh, here go Reggie again, right? But like real talk, I don't get the vibe that Reggie is on some bullshit. I really believe that Reggie is an avid listener. Reggie writes in consistently every time we put out a show. He's probably one of our most consistent ones giving us listener feedback. So I appreciate the listener feedback that Reggie gives. Despite the fact that like, yo, maybe Reggie is just trying to make me think about things another way, right? And I can appreciate that. But he says, "I didn't realize that I come across that way in my correspondence with you. As I said before, I think you're a good dude, and I love listening to your show. It always gives me something to think about, and I appreciate your accessibility and allowing your audience to bring in their opinions as well. It's not that I disagree with you. I'm just trying to come to a greater understanding. So if I'm coming across as a troll of any sort, you have my apologies. No apologies necessary, Reggie, man. I appreciate you writing in. I appreciate the thoughts that you bring to the table. And yeah, man, like this, keep listening and keep writing, man. We appreciate that kind of feedback here at the Spirit Report, because one thing I could tell you off top, man. And I was having this discussion with my wife a couple of days ago. It's like, with the people that don't really fuck with you will let you know that they don't fuck with you, right? And the people that do fuck with you, they just like, they're just listening. So like, yeah, I agree. And again, they keep it moving. But the folks that like really don't really rock with you, they can't wait to let you know that they don't rock with you. So it's always appreciated when, people can be, they might not necessarily agree with you, but they can be agreeably disagreeable, if that's the thing, right? So there we go. I said, with that being said, I know you've been a huge Cosby critic over the years after the sexual assault allegations surrounding him started gaining steam. And W. Kamau Bell has a documentary series premiering on Showtime this week. So I got two questions. One, do you plan to watch? And two, what do you think of the allegations of Bell now being called a coon by others in black comedy for producing this documentary in the first place? Hope all is well. And again, I'm sorry for coming across as a troll. Well, like I said, man, no apologies necessary for that, Reggie. But here's the thing. I did watch that documentary, the docu-series on Showtime. I thought it was very well done. I thought it was well balanced, because here's the thing. The people who were already predisposed to not the people who are already predisposed to like defending Cosby, despite all of the allegations that Cosby has been accused of, despite the conviction that Cosby had leveled against him in the court of law, those people will defend Cosby no matter what. So you're not, I just kind of feel like those kind of people, you're not going to reach those folks. They've dug their heels in the fact that they believe that Cosby is innocent and was being railroaded because he was trying to buy a black network and all this other shit, right? Which still to this day, I'm amazed that people still think that it like the rape allegations came about because Cosby was trying to buy NBC. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, man. Nobody has to sell you anything, and they don't have to create a story to justify why they don't want to sell you anything. If you wanted to buy my car and I said I didn't want to sell you my car, I don't have to tell people that you robbed banks in order to justify why I don't want to sell you my car. I just could just say no, And so the idea that that Cosby would be buying a network was the reason these allegations came about was, kind of crazy. And the other part about that is like these were things that had been bubbling under the surface for a long time. So it wasn't as if these were like totally unknown. It just kind of blew up. It was like a perfect storm of things blowing up at the same time in order for people to really start talking about it and get the ball rolling as far as like the legal system and everything. Right. The other part about it is that like the same people who would say that Cosby is now out of jail and he's been proven innocent is like, no, he wasn't proven innocent. He got out on a technicality, man. Like there was a prior agreement with the prior prosecutor in that case. They agreed that they wouldn't prosecute him if he gave a statement during a deposition. And in that deposition, Cosby kind of admitted to everything that they accused him of. And so he said those things under the auspices of thinking that he couldn't be tried for the things that he said in that deposition. And the fact that he was ultimately convicted of sexual assault of Andrea Constant kind of violated that agreement that he had with the prior prosecution. And so that's why Cosby is out. It's not because Cosby didn't do it. Cosby was out because of the agreement that he had with a prior prosecutor. And, it was deemed a technicality to get him out. And so there's that. The other part about it, I think is crazy is that, folks are coming at W. Kamau Bell, calling that man all kinds of coons, saying that dude isn't, he didn't come up in a black comedy scene. And so they just went and they found, the black comic willing to, tear down this black man and this, that, and the other. Kamau Bell, like I said, if you actually watch the docuseries, you could tell that W. Kamau Bell was, Bill Cosby to some degree was a hero of his. And so it's basically a docuseries coming to terms with finding out that your hero was a monster, right? Like they go into the whole thing about Cosby, being influential in getting black stuntmen for black actors. Like they would just paint black or white people. They would just paint them straight black and throw them in the scene as opposed to having actual black, black stuntmen. They talked about Cosby's influence as far as like bringing educational programming to television for children, like how influential he was and how powerful he felt like that role was for the for broadcasting and things like that. So they talked about some of the things, the good things that Cosby did and the positive influence that Cosby wielded and some of the things that like the opportunities that Cosby brought forth for a lot of people, a lot of black people in the entertainment industry. But also Cosby had this other side to him. And I think a lot of folks have a hard time reconciling the fact that like two things can be true at the same time. Cosby could be like this great philanthropist, this great black activist. He could also be the rapist that they say he was, right? And so I think a lot of times people have a hard time coming to grips with the fact that two things can be true at the same time. And yeah, man, I thought the docuseries was well done. If you really, I think like I said, those who are predisposed to defending Cosby are not going to really want to watch it. They're just not. They've already written him off. They've already come up with the narrative that W. Kamau Bell is a coon for even coming up with it. And I mean that's going to be what it is. But like I said, if you listen to my show for any length of time and we talked about the Cosby situation, y'all already know I think the motherfucker did it. And like a lot of the people that I think are out here defending Cosby, I think that he wouldn't piss on them if they were on fire. That's the ironic thing about it. A lot of the people that are out here defending Cosby and talking about we're tearing down the legacy of a black man, that black man don't give a fuck about them in the ways that they would give a fuck about him. And so, yeah, I think that's unfortunate. But it is what it is, man. But I appreciate you writing in, Reggie, and I hope to hear from you again soon, brother. Real talk. But that has been our listener feedback. It is time for us to get into the news, y'all. All right. But you know what? I'm moving too fast, man. This is how you can tell, like my process has been thrown all the way off, man. Before we get into the goddamn news, I got some random thoughts, man. These are some things that I've been thinking about over the course of the last couple of weeks or so, and I just kind of want to get these few little thoughts off my chest before we get into the news and shit, right? Can y'all do that for me? Let me get my thing off. Not like that. Not like that though. Not like that. But yo, man, I got some random thoughts, man. And my first one is this, man. I sometimes I envy stupid people. I do, man. Like, have you ever noticed, man? Like, there's an old adage that says that, like, ignorance is bliss, and I truly believe that, man. Like, cause like stupid people be out here looking happy than a motherfucker, man. Not a care in the goddamn world, man. They say God takes care of babies and the fools be out here living life, bruh. They be out here just blissfully ignorant, man. And they be looking so happy, man. I'd be like, man, I wish I didn't know some of the things I know. I wouldn't be so mad all the goddamn time, man. Like people at work be like, Spann, what's wrong with you? Like nothing, nigga. Life. Nigga, life is what's wrong with me. Like for real, man. Stupid people just be like out here just living and shit, like happy and like not knowing the goddamn thing, man. And they cool with that. And I wish I had that level of fucking I wish that I wish there was a medium between that, right? Like I wish that I could like know some shit, but also be happy about some of the shit that I know. Because like it seems like a lot of the shit that I know, I'd be like, man, fuck. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, that's what I was thinking about. That's one of the things I was thinking about, man. Stupid people, they be happy and shit. I'm not be jealous because that's crazy. Yeah. That's the thing. Another thing I was thinking about, man. So, like there's this new restaurant here in Detroit, man. It's called like Dave's Hot Chicken or something like that. And I think it's Dave's Nashville Hot Chicken and shit. And like it, they opened up. I think what's weird about it is that like this Dave's place is like actually from California, but they are like talking about this as if it's like Nashville Hot Chicken. So maybe it's they some people from California, but they came up with the Nashville style of chicken and they brought it to Detroit, I guess. Right. But the weird thing is, man, like, I am an alumni of Tennessee State University. I went to school in Nashville, Tennessee. The weird thing about this, man, is that, I went to college in Nashville and never knew that Nashville hot chicken was ever a thing. Never knew, man. Never knew. I never knew that was a thing, man. Like, had no motherfucking clue. But here's another thing, too, though, right? Here's another thing, too. I've lived in Detroit for probably a little bit over 20 years now in my life. I'm 41. Yeah, so damn, I probably lived in Detroit longer than I lived in Chicago. Dig that. But in the 20 years that I had been like here in Detroit or whatever, it wasn't until probably like 3 or 4 years ago that I even knew that Detroit style pizza was actually a thing. Now, here's the thing, though, right? I feel like a lot of this shit is corporately made up, right? Like somebody mentioned to me, like, like Chicago style pizza, New York style pizza, those weren't always a thing. Like they became a thing, but I kind of feel like those things became a thing like through word of mouth, right? Like people came to those cities and was like, yo, man, you really got to, when you go to New York, you got to try the pizza. When you go to Chicago, you got to try the pizza or to try the Italian beefs or try to, the hoagies and all that other shit. Cause Chicago has a plethora of different types of foods, man. It's an embarrassment of riches of how good the food is in Chicago. But, yeah, man, I was like, yo, like, I didn't know that. Like, and low key, like the whole Detroit style pizza shit, I could have swore, man. I could have swore that Pizza Hut been out here selling pan pizza since forever, dog.
I'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle.
Yeah, man. I'm like, yo, wasn't Pizza Hut doing this, man? I can remember back in the day, like getting my little personal pan pizza with the crispy edges and shit, and that being a thing. And I was getting them from Pizza Hut, and nobody called that shit Detroit style pizza. This some shit y'all made up, bruh. This some shit y'all made up, And so, yeah, man, I was thinking about that. I don't know why and shit, but I just kind of was. I'm like, man, what this Nashville hot chicken shit? Like, how did I go to college that whole time and never knew that was a thing? And I fucks with chicken, man. I do. It's kind of crazy. Another thing while we're talking about food and shit is like real talk, I kind of really want to know who the weed smokers are that are responsible for the like menu hacks at McDonald's right now. Yeah, man. Y'all know what I'm talking about. McDonald's got this like land, air, and sea shit that they got going on where you can get like a quarter pounder with a fillet of fish with a McChicken sandwich on the same shit, and then you can get like the mac sauce or whatever, or you could just get like the chicken and the fish and with like the tartar sauce and like 2 slices of cheese. Like, and I hate that they like really try to prompt it like, yo, you can get 2 slices of cheese, right? Wasn't that like some shit that Martin did back like, yo, man, give her 2 slices of cheese, hook it up. Y'all remember that shit, right? So like now McDonald's is just out here like, you know what, man, fuck it, man. You know, we can just let's throw some shit at the wall and see if it stick. And I'm like, low key, like how many of you motherfuckers is actually going up to McDonald's? Like, you know what, man, let me get that quarter pounder with the fillet of fish on it, man. Yeah, man, hook that motherfucker up with the tartar sauce, man. So you getting your hamburger with the tartar sauce, nigga. Extra tartar sauce, nigga. I want you to like layer that shit up, nigga. Layer that shit up and give me another extra piece of cheese on that shit too. Like I feel sorry for your toilets. Like real talk, y'all gonna be repainting them motherfuckers, and it ain't gonna be nice, man. Your toilets will not love you. Like you gonna clog up your whole shit fucking with that McDonald's stuff, man. Real talk. And I don't think y'all toilets deserve it. I don't think your toilets did anything to deserve what the fuck y'all about to give it after these McDonald's menu hacks and shit, right? So yeah, that's the thing. But those have been my random thoughts. Yeah. so now we can get into the news, man. Real talk. And so our first story that we have into the news is actually man, more states are actually about to drop their mask mandates, man. So we get the story here. This comes out of the Washington Post. It says that New York and Massachusetts announced Wednesday that they will ease mask mandates, joining a long list of states making similar moves in recent days. In Massachusetts, Governor Charlie Baker, a Republican, they got a Republican governor in Massachusetts, dig that, didn't know that, said a school mask requirement would end February 28th. And in New York, Governor Kathy Hochul let a mask or vaccine mandate for indoor businesses expire as of Thursday, but said masking would continue in schools and then be reevaluated the first week of March. The governors of both states cited declining infection and hospitalization numbers along with high vaccination rates as allowing eased restrictions. Mask mandates continue to fall in traditionally cautious blue states Wednesday as the number of U.S. coronavirus cases plunged. COVID-19 hospitalizations dropped below 100,000, and the government's chief medical officer, Anthony Fauci, said the country is on the road to approaching normality. In New York, Illinois, and Rhode Island, governors said that they would soon end requirements that adults wear face coverings in public indoor spaces, and some, including Massachusetts, promised children would no longer have to wear them in school. This is what we were waiting for, tremendous progress after 2 long years, said Governor Kathy Hochul of New York, where the mask mandates will expire Thursday. But the school requirement will remain until at least early March, and we're not done. But this is trending in a very, very good direction, and this is why we're now approaching a new phase in this pandemic. So, yeah, man, I got a couple different thoughts about this, man. The tricky thing about this is that we've seen this before, right? We've seen this before. We've seen, like I remember when the vaccines kind of first came out, and people were getting vaccinated. The vaccination rates were like kind of accelerating and things. And it got to a point, I want to say it was last summer, like early last summer, early, like late spring or something like that, where they were telling people that were vaccinated, like, listen, man, y'all can shed y'all mask. Y'all ain't got to wear your mask no more. You're fully vaccinated. Enough people are fully vaccinated, and I assume that they thought the trend was going to continue. And then all of a sudden the Delta variant came through and shut a lot of that shit down, man. Like more people were getting sick. It was a more deadly version of the coronavirus, and the mask mandates came back. They and I was irritated with it because I hate wearing the mask, man. I'm just be honest with y'all. I hate wearing the fucking mask. I wear it because I have to. I wear it because it's the smart thing to do. I wear it because I care about what the fuck happened to other people. I don't want anybody to fuck with me, so I don't want to fuck with them, right? But I wear it, but like at the same time, like my glasses be fogging the fuck up. And when I'm at work, I'm breathing hard and shit because I got a very physical job. And so it's just like, yo, man, I got to make the choice of whether or not I can see what the fuck I'm doing or whether or not I can breathe. And a lot of times I ask my customers when I'm working in their house, like, yo, my man, can you go upstairs or something, man? I mean, I know I'm in your crib and shit, but like, yeah, I really do. I can't see what the fuck I'm doing. Right? I can't see what the fuck I'm doing. And so, you got that sort of thing going on. And so one of the things that you really just, you kind of hope doesn't happen is that like, yo, we ease the restrictions. And then as a result of us easing the restrictions, the coronavirus numbers spike up because that's been the trend. Like as soon as you start relaxing shit, that's when the numbers go up. It's like the restrictions are the reason why the numbers are going down. So the fact that we're easing the restrictions is be like, all right, so yeah. But what about those motherfuckers who ain't been following the rules the whole time though, right? Because they still getting infected. You know what I'm saying? They still infecting others, and so it's just one of those things, man. Like you just kind of hope that like we don't. I know people want to be optimistic and they want to like kind of ease some of these restrictions because here's the other part about it too. It's become it's become a political liability in a lot of cases because so many people are just so burnt out on the restrictions. They're so burnt out on the requirements of wearing a mask, not wearing a mask, the vaccine mandates and everything else. And so like people are, trying to, it's coming to a point where people are just like, man, fuck these rules, bro. Like even the people who have been following the rules the entire time, even some of those people are like, man, fuck these rules. I'm done. Like if I get it, I get it. Like I might not get it that bad because I got vaccinated, I'm boosted, and I might survive the shit, right? And so people are taking that attitude and not necessarily caring about the restrictions, not necessarily caring about wearing a mask anymore. And it's going to be interesting to see going forward because, like I said, they're saying the numbers are going down now. It'll be interesting to see how this pans out come the springtime, man, when enough people have like relaxed and stopped wearing a mask, and whether or not there's another variant that comes open, and we find out that like, this move here might not have been the best, but you hope for the best. And so they're following the science. I would trust the scientists more than I would trust anybody else, especially any of these politicians, like, the politicians who have made it political, right? I'll say that the politicians who have made it political to like take advantage of the protections that are trying to be put in place in order to get less people infected and get less people in the hospitals. I would trust the politicians who are more cautious than the ones who are just saying like fuck everything and tossing caution to the wind. That's just kind of how I feel about it. But yeah, man, more states are dropping their mask mandates, and so it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out going forward. But that's in the news, man. Another story that we got here in the news, this actually has something to do with what's been going on here in Detroit. This has been an international story. There's been a blockade on the Canadian side of the Detroit-Windsor border, where coronavirus truckers or anti-vax coronavirus truckers have been blocking the Ambassador Bridge, the bridge that takes you from Windsor, Canada to Detroit, Michigan. They've been blocking that shit for over a week.
I'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle.
Mm-hmm. Well, they've reopened that. The Canadian or the Windsor police have actually moved a lot of those folks out of the way. And we're going to read the story to here. This comes from the IF Press. Excuse me. But it says, protesters choked off access to the Ambassador Bridge Monday, wreaking havoc at the border and leaving countless travelers stranded in gridlock as the self-proclaimed freedom fighters waved flags and played hockey in the middle of a nearby road. It says, as of 8 p.m. Monday, Ontario Provincial Police said that the major international crossing was blocked in both directions into the U.S. and Canada, and warned that those seeking to enter the U.S. to enter the U.S. to instead go to the Blue Water Bridge in Sarnia. By Tuesday morning, the bridge had been reported reopened for U.S.-bound traffic. More than 100 protesters remain near the border as of Tuesday morning. The Windsor faction of the national protest against COVID-19 mandates escalated efforts by planting big rigs, pickups, and occasional off-road vehicles in the highway, essentially cutting off the main commercial artery in and out of Canada. We are the people, and we are going to fight for our country, Hilda Fisher from Essex said as people cheered and horns honked. We're going to fight until we die. If we have to die fighting for it, we will. Affected traffic, made up of mostly tractor trailers not involved in the protest, was backed up for kilometers throughout the day Monday. The congestion stretched from Tecumseh Road down Huron Church and across the Ambassador Bridge. When the northbound traffic headed to Michigan did move, it was to a crawl. Police officers monitoring the process said around 6 p.m. that the southbound lanes of Huron Church coming into the Canada had been at a complete standstill since around noon. The exit from the Ambassador Bridge onto Huron Church Road is temporarily interrupted at this time, Windsor Police said Monday in a Twitter post. Avoid the area or find an alternative route. If possible, officers are working to restore the orderly flow of traffic in the safest possible manner. So here's the thing, man. The interesting thing about the whole Canadian trucker blockade and everything was it's interesting how the politics of certain folks switched up concerning what it means to like block traffic and shit, right? Because y'all remember like back in the day, like shit, I say back in the day, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, when like Black Lives Matter protesters was out here like occupying space in like freeways and shit, or occupying space in the roads, and like, suddenly all these Republican politicians were coming up with laws that would allow for someone to actually run over a protester if the protesters were out in the street. Y'all remember that? That was a thing, right? Like they came up with all sorts of laws. Like, so if you ran over a protester who was out there in the middle of the street, you could like get away with the shit. Like I remember, I think like Florida came up with a law like that. I want to say they came up with something similar in Missouri and Texas or something like that. They were actively antagonizing the protesters to make it as if, protesting in that way would be illegal. And not only that, that if any harm came your way as a result of that protest, that the person who harmed you would not be facing any sort of criminal, like any criminal backlash whatsoever. And so it's been interesting to see how that flipped when it came to Canadians, like protesting COVID restrictions, right? But here's the other interesting thing about this is that the people who were like protesting the Canadian restrictions or whatever represent a very small portion of the Canadian, population. Even the truckers and shit, right? A lot of the like over 90% of the Canadian truckers are vaccinated. And so like the fact that they're out there, protesting like vaccinations and shit, like, yo, y'all represent a very small group. Now this very small group was actually able to do a lot of damage, which I think is like kind of crazy. Like, yo, I think they said they stopped almost $800 million of commerce from going over the Ambassador Bridge, and auto manufacturers were damn near about to like shut down production because they couldn't get parts from across the border and everything. Like, so it's kind of crazy how that small group of people was able to like affect so much, right? But they're talking about, it's for our choice and everything else. Like, yo, you do have a choice. Like we keep saying this, like your choice was to not get the vaccine. Cool. Accept the consequences that come with said choice. That's it. Right? It's like people that don't want to do that don't want to be a part of this group project to get us out of this motherfucking pandemic. They want all of the benefits of being a part of the group project without doing any parts of the fucking work. And it's frustrating as hell to listen to people act as though they're martyrs or they're victims when this is just simply a choice that they made. It's not as if there's something that they had no control over. They have control over the situation, right? But they pretend as though they don't. And that's the thing that I think is most frustrating for a lot of people, right? The other part about it is this, like, man, why in the fuck are y'all out in Canada Road like waving Trump flags? And why do y'all have Confederate flags? And why are y'all getting money from like certain Republican politicians here in America? Like, come on, man, we know what the fuck this is about. It's so transparent that this has nothing to do with freedom, but there's a lot of gullible motherfuckers out there who think that they are freedom fighters. Like, this is how people haven't really been dealing with real problems, because the people who have been dealing with real problems, the first thing they're going to do is like, yo, man, I have no control over the fact that I'm black. I have no control over that. So I'm out here fighting for my life because despite the fact that like no matter what I do, I'm going to be black the rest of my fucking life, right? These people, hey, man, you got a choice. You either get the shot or don't. You don't have you're not a martyr. You're not like a freedom fighter. Like, yo, you have a choice in this matter, and you don't like the choice that you have, but there's a choice that you need to make. And so either live with that choice or not, or live with the choice or don't. You know what I'm saying? But I think that at a certain point when they started like fucking with the money, which I think is ultimately what like a lot of protesters are aiming for. They want to fuck with the money. But they fuck with the money to a point where like, yo, they was like, all right, man, like let's stop bullshit with these people and get them to fuck off this road, man. And that's what it came down to. Really, it came down to the fact that like corporate interests were like losing a lot of money. And then on top of that, the irony of this is that they were talking about how like because they're unvaccinated, that they were losing jobs, right? And now they're going to try to cause other people to lose jobs who did the right thing, right? Who did the thing that they thought was the right thing. Like they went out and they got vaccinated and they wear the mask and shit. You're going to cause other people to lose their jobs because you decided that what wasn't right for you was also not right for them. Like, make it make sense, man. Make it make sense. But that's in the news, man. They opened up the Ambassador Bridge. It's just weird. Like I said, with the Canadians over there, over 90% vaccinated, and such a small group of people were able to affect so much over there. And also the way in which I think a lot of stateside media was covering it as though like it was this was a massive kind of uprising. And it really wasn't. There's a small group of folks over there who are kicking up dust, man, kicking up a lot of dust, and they got a lot of attention. I think that's really what they wanted, right? And so, that was the other part I wanted to think. But it was interesting because the vaccine mandates when it came to the truckers was mostly behind the idea. Well, if you're coming across the border, the United States was requiring them to be vaccinated. It wasn't the Canadian government. And so they were basically boycotting the Canadian government for a policy that the United States implemented. Like Canada wasn't, I don't think Canada was like, was telling like, hey man, in order for you to go to America, you need to be vaccinated, although they probably should, right? But I think like by and large, like, yo man, the American government was like, yo man, if you're going to be coming over here, we need y'all vaccinated. And they were protesting the Canadian government when it was the American government that they really should have been mad at. And it's crazy. It is what it is though, right? So that's in the news. Another story that we got here in the news. So 19% of Spotify users said that they plan to drop their Spotify subscription if Spotify doesn't get rid of Joe Rogan. Yeah, man. So we get the story here. This comes out of Variety. It says, how big of a liability versus an asset will Joe Rogan prove to be for Spotify? A new survey shed some light on which way the wind might blow, given the spate of delete Spotify and cancel Spotify hashtags that blew up on social media in the recent days. Although similar past customer backlashes have resulted in minimal damage. Among Spotify users, 19% said that they have already canceled their service or plan to over the Rogan uproar, according to a February 1st consumer poll conducted by Forrester Research. The study also found that 54% of those who use Spotify have no intention of canceling their subscription, while 18.5% said they would consider canceling only if more artists who they like pull their music from the platform. About 8.5% said that they thought about canceling their subscription, but that Spotify features were too important to them. The protest kicked off last week when Neil Young demanded Spotify remove his music because of what he identified as COVID misinformation in some of Rogan's podcast episodes. Since then, he's been joined by Joni Mitchell, India Arie, Roxanne Gay, Mary Trump, and Dave Crosby, Steven Stills, and Graham Nash. If anywhere around 19% of Spotify users were to abandon the streamer, that would obviously have a huge impact. However, it's important to keep in mind that surveys are a gauge of self-reported behavior, and that the way this Forrester poll was worded, let respondents say they intend to cancel, even if ultimately they don't. And that's the important thing right there. So when they do surveys like this, oftentimes, man, people say they're going to do a certain thing, and they never ultimately do the thing that they say that they were going to do. Some of it is virtue signaling, you know what I'm saying? Some of it is getting online and, you know, performing the activism that you believe is the righteous thing to do, right? So you'll get online and you'll say all of the right things, but ultimately, like, you don't necessarily follow through on the things that you said you were going to do. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not Spotify actually loses 19% of its user base, right? The other part about it is, you know, they're like, I know with a lot of these streaming services, you know, most people now are on some form of streaming service, and they just tend to, like, you know, they'll flip-flop from one to another. I know people talk all the time about how they're going to drop their Netflix. They talk all the time about, you know, like, if especially when Netflix raises the price on their shit, right? They're like, man, if these motherfuckers want $3 more, I'll be goddamn, man. This shit is 17. That's a lot of goddamn money, man. I can't keep giving these motherfuckers 17. Like, but they never really give up the Netflix and shit. Like Netflix, you know, the numbers, you know, kind of stay pretty steady. You know, they're not really blowing up as they used to, because ultimately I think like a lot of these platforms have reached maturation where, like, yo, you got the amount of people that are really going to be there. And so some people may fall off periodically, but they'll come right back. And although some people may drop their Spotify for the controversy that is Joe Rogan, I think ultimately, like, if a lot of their artists start coming back onto the platform, those people are going to come back to the platform. They're just going to be what that is, because like I said, I think ultimately, like, a lot of folks, they'll get online, they'll say one thing, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to follow through with the cancellation of said subscription. Especially, say for instance, if you share an account, right? And it's like, so it's like FOCOT and some shit, right? Like, say you go drop your Spotify, but you ain't actually paying for the shit, right? I mean, yeah, I'm gonna drop my Spotify, nigga. Shit, motherfucker out here giving that motherfucking COVID misinformation, nigga. Fucking talking about nigga all the time, nigga. He ain't a nigga like me, nigga. He can't be out here saying nigga like me, nigga. So I'm dropping my motherfucking Spotify, nigga. Fuck Joe Rogan. And they ain't paying for it. They just like somebody gave them the password to their account, and they just like, yeah, but fuck Joe Rogan, because they ain't paying for it. So yeah, man. Like I said, I think a lot of folks are just kind of out here spinning. I don't know if they're actually going to do the thing that they say that they're going to do. So, yeah, man, that's in the news, man. Lots of people saying they're going to drop it. But here's another thing about the Joe Rogan thing that I think is very interesting. You know, NDIRE dropped that like that little super clip of Joe Rogan using nigga on his podcast multiple times. And, you know, like there's this thing where like, I'm gonna need some of our people, some of our melanated folks. I'm gonna need some of us to like stop feeling the need to like come to the defense of these folks the minute they run into some trouble. I get wanting to be a friend and shit, but yo, man, like there's gonna come a time where there's gonna come a time where like with a lot of these people, you're gonna be like, man, nah, you're gonna jump out and take that bullet for somebody, and then some other shit gonna come out, and then you're gonna be like, oh shit, now I gotta go defend this too. I don't know if I can defend this too. And you're gonna look crazy, man. And you know, like when something like this is going on, man, like, yo, like you might want to just shut the fuck up, man. You might want to shut the fuck up. Like I know, like was it Donnell Rawlings kind of came out and you know, he talked about how you know Joe Rogan isn't racist because he be kicking it with him and Dave Chappelle and all this other shit. Like, yeah, man, but when he's not around y'all, what's going on? He's around his white people talking about, you know, going into a movie theater and they walked into Planet of the Apes because the movie theater was in a black neighborhood. Like, come on, man. Like, you can't be out here like, you know, like dying in a non-racist cape for any of these people, man. Like, as much as you love Joe Rogan, as much as you like Joe Rogan has a side to him where he's not a part of your culture. He gets with his own culture and it becomes a thing. And you can't defend that. You just can't. You know, you can only hope that like this motherfucker learns from the shit and proves not ever to do it again. That's the only thing you can really do is hope that the motherfucker never does it again. But when they out here catching the smoke, man, sometimes you just need to shut the fuck up because you don't want to be a part of catching that smoke either, man. Real talk. Man. These motherfuckers out here spamming the chat room. So let me go ahead and block this user and get them the fuck on up out of here. Yeah, that's how we do that, man. And we got homie Greg Simpson in the chat room, man. Greg Simpson, they don't even put it together for you. McDonald's hands you the ingredients and you assemble it. What the fuck? Wait a minute. Hold up. So shout out to Greg, man. Greg's in here. He's talking about the land, air, and sea shit we were talking about with McDonald's earlier. He said they don't even put it together for you. McDonald's hands you the ingredients and you assemble it. Man, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. That's almost as crazy as that what's that Black Rock restaurant? Have you guys ever heard of that place? It's like a restaurant where like they bring you your food, like you order some shit and then they bring you like your food, but then like this is like this rock that like this steaming hot rock that you supposed to cook your own food at your own table and shit. Like, man, what the fuck the point of this? That's crazy, motherfucker. I ordered the steak, nigga, medium well. Why am I cooking it? If I wanted to do this, I could have stayed at home, you know? But that is crazy, man. That's fucking crazy. But yeah, that's in the news. Another story that we got here in the news. So Spirit and Frontier Airlines are merging to create the 5th largest airline in America. Yeah, so we get the story here. This comes out of CNBC. Does this have video? No, it doesn't have video. It says Frontier Airlines and Spirit Airlines, the 2 largest low-cost carriers in the U.S., have agreed to merge, creating what will become the 5th largest airline in the country. The boards of both companies approved the deal over the weekend prior to the CEOs of both airlines announcing the agreement on New York City. The deal, valued at $6.6 billion, is structured with Frontier Airlines controlling 51.5% of the merged airline, while Spirit will hold the remaining 48.5%. Spirit investors will receive 1.9126 shares of Frontier plus $2.13 in cash for each Spirit share they own. The companies say that the deal implies a value of $25.83 or $25.83 per Spirit share, which would be a 19% premium over the value of Spirit shares at the end of last week. Still to be determined is the name of the combined carrier, who will be CEO, and the location of the airline's headquarters. The chair of the new airline will be Bill Frank, who is the current chair of Frontier and managing partner of its parent company, Indigo Partners. In a release announcing the agreement, Frank said the combined carrier will create America's most competitive, ultra-low-fare airline for the benefit of consumers. And to that I say, bullshit. Bullshit, man. I swear. Here's the thing, man. I pray for anybody who has to fly Spirit Airlines or whatever the name of the new combined Spirit Frontier Airlines is going to be. I pray that they do not nickel and dime you to death. I pray that you are able to fly on a reliable airline, like a reliable plane, I pray that like when you actually book a flight with them motherfuckers, that they honor your reservation and don't try to charge you an extra $100 because you are an hour and 10 minutes early to your flight and try to say that you were not, because that happened to me. And I didn't fly. I was putting my brother on a flight, and that's what they did. And they squeezed another extra $100 out of me talking about I was late, and we were not. And so also like my brother had one bag. He brought it with him one way. He brought the same bag back, and they were like, "Nah, that bag is now too big." And so now I got to pay some more money to get that bag on that flight. Like the nickel and diamond of it is what like really like pisses me off about it, because they said that they're an ultra low fare airline, right? And I know like it gives more people access to the airways, right? Like more people can get to someplace faster than they would before. Like some of the people that would be riding the bus normally are now able to get on the airline and be like, man, fuck it, I can get down to Miami like for nothing. Yeah, but then when they get finished with their bag and their airline ticket and like, the amenities that they think should come with a flight, they paying the damn near the same amount that they would be on like maybe American or Delta or anywhere else. So yeah, man, the other part about this is like less airlines mean less choice, which means you pay more money, right? Competition breeds, lower cost. And unfortunately, like this means that one lower cost airline is going to be out of commission, and they just merge into another one. Like that's the one thing that I think is like we've seen the contraction of the airline industry in America for over the course of the last 20, 30 years, especially since like after 9/11, man. I remember like, Continental being its own airline, not a part of United. I remember Delta being its own airline, and there used to be a Northwest Airlines that was on its own, and now there is no more Northwest. It merged into Delta, and so you had so many more choices. And when you had those choices, man, like yeah, I'm old enough to remember, man, when they used to like give you pillows and like blankets on the flight. Now, like they don't do that shit no more. I'm old enough to remember when they used to like give you like full meals and shit on the airlines. Like they don't do that shit no more. Like it's a lot of shit that they used to do that they no longer do. And like they charge you more money for the shit that they used to do. Like if you like it's crazy. Like they've contracted so much of that. Like even the baggage fees. I remember like the baggage fees were something that they implemented in order for them to become profitable again after 9/11, because so many people were scared to fly because they thought the planes were going to get hijacked. And, they was like, yo, man, we need this to become profitable and everything else. But yeah, once they got that money, they never stopped. I know these motherfuckers have been profitable, goddamn it. People are flying. People are going all over the goddamn place. But they ain't gave that money back, nigga. And like Spirit has a whole thing when it comes to like baggage fees and everything else. Greg's in the chat room. He says said it'll be called the Final Frontier. You goddamn right, dog. You goddamn right, man. The Final Frontier. But yeah, man, it's just interesting, like to kind of watch how this, this sort of thing kind of plays out. And I used to work for an airline. That's kind of why I'm a little bit knowledgeable of some of this stuff, but also just because I'm the nigga that lived life a little bit. I've been around for a little while, and I just remember a time where like, some of these things just that, like if I told my daughter that there was a time when she can get on an airplane and they would like give her food and like she didn't have to pay for it, she'd lose her fucking mind, because she's never known a life like that. She's also never known a life where she didn't have a smartphone or like a touch screen in her hand. So there's that. But yo, man, that's been the news. But y'all know what time it is.
What in blue blazes is going on out here?
Did this nigga just say blue blazes?
All right. Our first story here in Blue Blazes has to do with the fact that like, yo, man, I'm sure, because this is kind of late now, but I'm sure you guys have heard that Rihanna and her boyfriend ASAP Rocky, they are expecting their first child. Yeah, man, that's a beautiful thing, man. That's a beautiful thing when people come together and create new life and all that other good shit, man. That's dope, man. That's wonderful, man. Excuse me. Well, there's somebody in this situation that isn't necessarily as happy as the rest of the world would be about the fact that Rihanna is pregnant with ASAP Rocky's baby, and that would be one Drake. We get the story here. This comes out of hotnewhiphop.com. Never heard of these people, but get the story from them, right? Let's see. It says, by now, pretty well everyone knows that Rihanna is having a child with A$AP Rocky. The two made it official with some photos that circulated on social media, and they immediately broke the internet with the news. Of course, the revelation came with quite a bit of Drake talk, as many fans were curious as to how he was doing given this news. Now, that's interesting too. They're like, yo, Rihanna gets pregnant with the dude that she's currently with, and people are like, so what does Drake think about this, right? That's crazy, right? So Drake and Rihanna's past is well known at this point, and many were wondering whether or not Drake would take action given what's happened. And also, why do we give a fuck about what Drake thinks about this, considering the fact that Drake had a whole ass baby that nobody knew about, right? Like, why do we care, bro? Like, you've already had a kid. Like, you've been out here, thotting and bopping your damn self, bro. You've been out here hot dicking, like with hot sauce and y'all remember. But yeah, man, like, he been out here doing this thing. Why do we give a fuck what Drake thinks about Rihanna and her dude having a child, man? It's crazy how we like, the whole social media thing and like, I guess the podcast game too, right? Because I'm talking about him. This is, as it turns out, that is exactly what Drake did. As he pulled off one of the prettiest moves one can do. In a tweet below, you can see that Drake actually unfollowed both Rocky and Rihanna. It was seems to be a move of retaliation. Clearly, Drake is on his revenge arc right now. Now, here's the thing, right? I've always wondered, like, the whole thing of when celebrities unfollow somebody. I don't know. Celebrities are cool and all, but I've never really understood like watching a celebrity so fucking closely to where like the minute that they unfollow somebody, that becomes news. That becomes something that is worthy of us all talking about. Like, yo, did you see that Drake unfollowed Rihanna? Like, half the time, I don't know who the fuck unfollows me, and I ain't nobody, right? So the idea that like, yo, man, people are actually following who follows who, and like make like, oh, we got to put this out on the blogs, such and such, then unfollow such and such. It must be some trouble in paradise, whatever the fuck, right? But all I could think of is like Drake, he's in his feelings, man. He's in his feelings. He's probably happy for them, but don't really know how to express it and shit, man. Drake probably like got all the love in the world for Rihanna and A$AP Rocky right now, and he wants to tell him congratulations, but he can't do it because he got to fight through the tears and shit, man. Congratulations. Gotta let that man work through his feelings, man. Let that man work through his feelings. Like he loved that girl, and apparently she didn't love him, and it sometimes it works out that way. Perhaps the funniest part of this whole thing took place when Rap TV took to their Instagram account and revealed the news about Drake's unfollowing streak. Rick Ross went right into the comment section and wrote, at Wingstop as a way to plug the restaurant chain that he owns 24 franchises of. Ross knows more than anyone that this is a great time to be a marketing whiz, and that is exactly what he did. As for Drake's friendship with Rihanna, it appears to finally be no more. Hopefully they can get back on good terms with one another sometime in the near future. Hopefully we don't give a fuck no more. Like that's the thing, man. I get it, it makes for content and everything else, but like, yo, man, like these are people. They're people. Like I really need us to some degree. I just kind of think it's a little bit ridiculous that we pay that much attention to what's going on between these folks. But yo, man, that's in Blue Blazers. Now another story that we got here in Blue Blazers has to do with one Nelly. Yeah, man, Nelly. Let's just say, yeah, man. Nelly was all up and down my Twitter timeline and shit, and all up and down my Facebook timeline, but not in the way in which you think, right? Because I have yet to see this sex tape of Nelly that leaked online. I tried to avoid that shit like Neo in the Matrix, because people would like, post the shit or they would be talking about it. Now, the weird thing about it is like, how people would talk about it. But before I get into talking about how they would talk about it, let me read this article here that comes out of hiphopwire.com. It says that Nelly has been the talk of the internet for the past 36 hours after a sex tape went wide through social media circles and made the famed rapper a trending topic. In a new statement, the St. Louis Star apologized for the video being inadvertently leaked, but fans on Twitter think that that the apology came up a little short. I see what they did there. Yep. I see what you did.
Ho, brother. Whoa. Now, you got too much dip on your chip.
Said TMZ reported that Nelly confirmed that the video was an accidental leak, not meant to go wide to the public, and extended his words towards the unnamed woman in the video with him performing the act. I sincerely apologize to the young lady and her family. This is unwanted publicity for her and them. This was an old video that was private and never meant to go public, Nelly said to CMZ exclusively. The outlet inquired as to how the leak happened, and it appears that his team believes Nelly was hacked and fear more personal information will make it out to the internet, including his financial information and the like. In other leak news, Lil Fizz video leak from his OnlyFans account is still catching a lot of residual slander, including the fact that the B2K rapper went from the Big Finish in the clip. A quick scan of Fizz's social media accounts doesn't point to any reaction from his side to the chatter. While no amount of apology would suffice for most on the Twitter sidelines, fans on the social media service felt Nelly's version was lacking. What we've got those reactions below. Now we're not gonna even go to the reactions, but here's the thing, man. Here's the thing about it. So I saw like the initial commentary about the sex tape from Nelly, and it was weird, man, because there were people talking about what, the size of his manhood or the size of his penis and things like that, and whether or not he was coming up short. I saw some people saying, that's average penis, and then I seen some people talking about he got some girth on it, see a lot of different conversations like that, a lot of commentary like that. I saw people commentating on the type of oral sex that the young lady in the video was performing. I like people talking about something like that was some lazy head, it was like weird, like watching people talk about these two folks in this video, right? First things first, like it was interesting to me to see people who would always it was interesting to me to see people who talk a lot about like body image and body shaming suddenly like throwing all that shit out the window when it came to Nelly and his and his penis and shit. Like, yeah, that was interesting to kind of like, so you don't really believe that shit you be talking. Okay. Right. So you got that. The other part was like the folks who were like, yo, so she was giving some real lazy slot, like some lazy, uninspired head. And there were other people who were talking about some like lazy, I'm sorry, but like Nelly was moaning supposedly in this video, right? Like I said, I haven't seen it. So there were people saying that like, they don't want to hear their dudes moan during, that sort of act and shit. And I'm thinking to myself, like, man, what the fuck? Like, so here's the thing, right? They were talking about her giving unsatisfactory head, but apparently Nelly was enjoying the shit immensely, so much so that he was moaning during the act, right? Now, maybe could he have been putting on for her? Who the fuck knows, right? But they were talking about like, her being lazy and him moaning, and it like, so I think those two things kind of contradicted each other. Like, he can't be moaning and she giving lazy head. Like something don't, like they was mad at that, right? There are other people who's like, yo, man, like she's supposed to spit on it. Like, like there was that whole thing, like people talking about spitting on it and like, you got to get that sloppy gawk. She got to give her, they really want this. This is what they want. That's what they were expecting when they saw the Nelly sex tape, right? That's what they wanted. That's what they were expecting. Like and here's the thing. I think there's a lot of young ladies who have had crushes on Nelly since like like the early 2000s shit. And they couldn't wait for a Nelly sex tape to drop. And then they seen this and they were disappointed, right? They were like, oh my God, I've been waiting for this all my life. And this is all we get. So you got that working against Nelly too, right? But like the whole thing about whether or not she was like giving him the sloppy gawk. Like real talk, man. Like I feel as though like people have like the unfettered access that we have to porno now has really warped how people view sex, people's sexual abilities, people's sexual proclivities, all of that. I think is really warped what we view normal sex to be. Like I'm of the age, like I remember when like I'm of the age where I remember when niggas would like tell you that they were proud to tell you they was not eating pussy, right? Like that's what they like, eat pussy, nigga. Hell no, I ain't eating no motherfucking pussy, nigga. What the fuck wrong with you? You know what the fuck comes out of a pussy, nigga? I ain't eating no motherfucking pussy, nigga. Like you crazy as hell. Them same niggas, when they got with their lady though, like they was doing it, right? They wasn't telling nobody, but they was doing it, right? And like the attitude around oral sex and oral pleasure for a woman has changed. Like it's so now the tables are flipped. You got niggas who can't wait to tell you that they gonna go down on you and they gonna suck on your pussy till it's raw or some shit. Like, you know, niggas say all kind of crazy shit that they think they're gonna get them closer to some sex or whatever else, right? Same thing with like the whole, you know, anal like eating and shit, like eating ass, man. Like, I tell you right now, your man Spann ain't doing that. Like, I'm just not like that. I do not fuck with the Hershey Highway. No way, no how, man. I am not yucking your yum. It's just not none for me. You know what I'm saying? And yet people will now look at me like I'm the strange one because I'm saying I'm not eating ass, right? Like, and I'm looking at y'all like, man, when did y'all start eating ass? Because I don't remember this being a thing, right? So, like, I think, you know, because I'm fucking 40 and like I can like all some of this shit is just sounding like some new shit that y'all done came up with, and y'all done seen some shit happen on the porno, and now it's happening on porno all the time. And now you got pornos on your fucking phone, you got pornos on your tablet, you got free porno, like you ain't even gotta pay for the porno half the time no more. I mean, you got the OnlyFans girls, but even the OnlyFans girls give you some free shit every now and again, so I heard, right? So I heard. But no, man, I'm just saying, like, I think our unfettered access to porn has kind of warped how we look at sex and what is expected of folks. And so when you see Nelly having some regular sex with a regular person, you looking at this nigga like he's a fucking failure. And it's like, what? Right? It's like, what? And then you got like, you know, like I said, they were talking about like whether or not, you know, the size of his Johnson was like, you know, appropriate and shit. And so now you got people like throwing shade at sisters like, man, how deep is your pussy? How big is your pussy? Like throwing a hot dog down a hallway. If you need something longer than that, you know, also all that sort of shit, man. It's just like wild listening to the commentary more than anything else, because like I said, I didn't see the video, but like watching the commentary surrounding said video was wild. Like the expectations that folks have for certain sexual acts, the expectations that folks have for the length and the girth of a man, or the expectations that folks have when it comes to the type of oral sex that they're expecting from someone. Like all of that is just, it's a lot, man. It's a lot. And I'm gonna tell y'all this right now. There's a whole lot of people out here on social media, the same way we was talking about with the thing with Spotify, and how, you know, people get on social media and they're like, yeah, I'm getting rid of my Spotify because of Joe Rogan, and then they don't. In a lot of ways, man, some people are on social media, they're performing, right? People are on social media performing. Yeah, this is how I like it. This is what this, that, and the other. And then you get with these folks, and then it's not exactly this. Is not that way, right? It's not that way. People are out here giving you their representative all the time. Folks are on social media performing. So yeah, man. But I'm just saying, man, people really wanted that. They just really they really thought that was gonna happen. And then we got my man Greg in the chat room. Greg says, ain't no such thing as bad head. The mere fact that it's happening make it good. Hey man, listen, there's a whole lot of brothers out here who like, man, shit, I want to see what the fuck was wrong with that. I don't know, shit, she looked like she was doing a good job to me. Like a whole lot of brothers out here who ain't getting no head, man, who's like, man, goddamn, man, like, so if that's bad, then I mean, I guess it's worse and I ain't getting none. You know, you know, like, you know, like it's like the expect, because like here's like that was the other thing, man. Like people talking about like spitting and all that other shit. Like truthfully speaking, man, like I don't want to get y'all to it, you know. I don't want to be like on some TMI shit, but like I don't need to feel like I need to wipe my ass after some head, bro. I don't want to feel like that. I just don't. Like it's a lot, man. Y'all be doing, y'all, like I'm old, G. I'm old, bro. Oh my God. I'm old, man, because I don't be feeling like I be listening to y'all. I'll be like, man, that's crazy. That's crazy. But yo, man, that's in Blue Blazes. This is why this segment exists. This is exactly why this segment exists. That's why it's in Blue Blazes. But another story that we got here in Blue Blazes has to deal with one basketball coach by the name of Sydney Carter. She's the basketball coach, women's basketball coach of the Texas A&M women's basketball team. And Sydney Carter was like the subject of a lot of internet chatter because of a pair of hot pink pants that she wore during the game. I wanted to see if I can, is there a picture of this available in this article so that I can share this with you guys here in the chat room? Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna pull this up so you guys can watch. You can see this right along with me here in the chat, so y'all can see what the hell we talking about here. Hold on, let me pull this up here. Just a second, folks. All right. All right. So here we go. Wait, nope, that's the wrong one. I wanted to share with you guys. Whoops. Okay, so let me pull this one down. I'm sorry, I got a lot going on here. Got a lot of tabs going on here. Let me pull that down. Let me pull that one down. Let's stop sharing that tab, and then we're gonna share another tab. I got too many tabs open. That's the problem. But yeah, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this, and then this. There we go. All right. So check this out. These are the pictures that were shared of Sydney Carter during this basketball game that got social media up in a bunch. She's wearing some, full length leather pants, form fitting, but full length. She's covered up. She's got a turtleneck on, a white turtleneck shirt on. They were playing against, it looks like they were playing against the University of Kentucky. I don't know. I mean, sister look good to me. I ain't mad. I tell you that much. And for whatever reason, it's not necessarily loading all these pictures up. So yeah. Okay, so now that it's unresponsive. Let's exit that page. Yeah, it was unresponsive. But yeah, man. So she had on these hot pink pants and things like that. And somebody, presented this as like what she was wearing was inappropriate for the game. And so one of the things that kind of came up was the sexualization of women, right? And like, no matter what it is that they wear, they can be, perceived as being overly sexual, no matter what it is that they wear. And so ultimately the conversation kind of stems around this, man. Like, she looks good, right? She's an attractive woman. She's a shapely woman. And I think when dudes talk about whether or not what a woman wears is appropriate or inappropriate, more often than not, what the conversation really is about is like, yo, man, she making me feel something, and I ain't really comfortable with the fact that I'm feeling something right now. And that's ultimately what I believe that like the conversation stems from. Because like I said, the woman was fully covered up. Like, there wasn't like, it's not as if like she was wearing some booty shorts. Wasn't as if like she had like a really low cut, shirt that had her, like cleavage all out and like pressed up together and like any of that. Not that would even be inappropriate for whatever the fuck reason, right? But the point that I'm making is like, there's a lot of dudes who are uncomfortable with the fact that there are women who will make clothing decisions devoid of their input, right? There's a lot of dudes who like, yo, man, like she feels like she looks good and she's not really necessarily thinking about them. There's a lot of guys who are uncomfortable with that idea that there are women who will own their autonomy. There are women who will own their sexuality. There are women who will own their image and not give a damn about what a man thinks about it. And so she went out there, she wore that, and she thought she looked good, she felt good, and that was what was important to her. And truthfully speaking, that's really all that's important in the matter. The fact that it became fodder for social media in the way in which it did, I think is like just indicative of how much we buy into some of the respectability shit that a lot of people still are holding on to. But yeah, man, Sydney Carter out here rocking her shit, man, and looking good doing it. Like, I had no idea who Sydney Carter was before that, but she's on my radar. She looks good. Right? So that's the thing, man. That's the thing. But that's in Blue Blazers. The fact that people were talking about this in the way that was like, yo, what's wrong with this picture? Like, nigga, absolutely nothing. Nigga, absolutely nothing is wrong with this picture, nigga. Where can I find more? Right? So yeah, man, that's in Blue Blazers. Another story that we got here in Blue Blazers has to do with a catfish, man. So there was this lady. She was on a dating app, and she found out that the guy that was like, interested in her was a catfish. But the interesting thing was how she found out that he was a catfish. So we get the story here that comes out of Yahoo News. And it says a woman discovers that she's being catfished after texting an Android phone user who wore an Apple Watch in his photos. Oh, the fucking humanity. Oh my God. So we get this story, like I said, this comes out of Yahoo. It says a woman discovered a man on a dating app was a catfish as he was wearing an Apple Watch, which can only work for people who have an iPhone. However, he had been texting her with an Android phone. In a TikTok video posted on January 31st, Jocelyn explained how she matched with the guy on the dating app Bumble And as noted on Bumble's website, women always make the first move and have to initiate the conversation within 24 hours or the match expires. So after messaging him and chatting on the app, the man asked Jocelyn to get dinner sometime. He offered to go sometime that week, and she then gave him her number. Jocelyn, who has an iPhone, noticed that when this man reached out to her, his texts were green, meaning he had an Android phone. Oh my God. So this is the guy that I matched with, she said, including a photo of him in the video. What is he wearing? An Apple Watch. As noted by Apple, in order to use an Apple Watch, you need an iPhone 6S or later. However, Jocelyn emphasized that his green texts were proof that he didn't have an iPhone. The TikTok user then did an image search on Google of some of the man's photos from the dating app. And what do we have here? An Instagram model from New York, Jocelyn explained, showing an Instagram account with the name Ron. The account had posted with one of the pictures from the profile Jocelyn matched with. Jocelyn said that she lived in Ontario, so she couldn't have matched with Ron. She also shared that the guy from Bumble was going by the name Miles. Thankfully, I hardly spoke to this guy and invested 0% of my time. You kind of invested some time investigating whether or not this dude was using the goddamn iPhone and or an Android phone. And you went to go look to see whether or not this guy was real or not on his Instagram. You invested a little bit of time, sweetheart. When filming this clip, and you did a TikTok. Come on, man, you invested some time. When filming this clip, she was also yet to have told the man that she knew he was catfishing her and asked her viewers if she should. The video has over 686,000 views so far, with TikTok users in the comments applauding Jocelyn for noticing the Apple Watch in the photos. Listen here, man. Listen. I'm an Android user. I'm an Android user through and through. From day one. I go back to the G1. It's a thing, right? I also have an iPhone. I have an iPhone for work. How stupid would she feel if Buddy had two phones, both an Android phone and an iPhone, and that really was a dude? Right? And that really was a dude. And the reason she thinks she's being catfished because, hey, he's got an Apple Watch on this picture, but his texts are green. Like this, this is the ridiculousness of the Apple people, man. Like, I swear to God, man, y'all are some of the most, not the people who fuck with me and shit, you know what I'm saying? The people who listen to me, I mean, y'all cool, you know, y'all cool. But like some of the rest of y'all, man, I'd be like, come the fuck on, man. Like, y'all can't be this goddamn, like, what's the word that I'm looking for here? Mundane, aloof, pompous, come to mind. Y'all can't be like that. Like, I mean, not the people that listen to me and shit, you know, because I got a lot of people who listen to the show via an iPhone and shit. I mean, not that I really, you know, I mean, I love y'all, you know, y'all fuck with your boy, but, you know, the rest of y'all, man, you know, I don't know. I be wondering about y'all sometimes. I want better for y'all, really. I really do want better for y'all, man. But yeah, man, she found out that the guy was catfishing her because he texted her and his text came back with green bubbles and he had an Apple Watch on the pictures and stuff. Like, come on, like that red flag, green bubbles, yuck. Come on, man. Superficial. That's the word. Superficial. That's what it is. That's what I was looking for. But yo, man, that's been Blue Places.
In blue places is going on out here.
This nigga just say blue blazes.
But y'all know what time it is. Well, we're out here denying the COVID-19, and we don't really want your goddamn vaccine. But we will jump on TikTok, searching for cloud. So I guess you could say we fucked around and found out. We fucked around and found out. Fuck around and find out. Oh, fuck around and find out. Yeah. Yes, indeed, y'all. Yes, indeed. It's fuck around and find out time here at the Spirit Report podcast, man. And our first story has to do with some people in New York, man. A couple of nurses in New York. And we got video of this. So let me go ahead and pull this up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann. And let's see what they talking about here, because this sounds like some fucked up shit here. They fucked around and found out in the worst of ways. And so here we go.
Two nurses on Long Island are under arrest, accused of forging vaccination cards for a steep profit, even entering the bogus information into the state database.
CBS News' Jennifer McLogan reports nearly $1 million was seized.
Behind Amityville's gazebo and historic Main Street, Wild Child Pediatric Healthcare invites in parents and children for COVID-19 vaccines. But prosecutors say the pediatric nurse practitioner who runs the clinic, Julie DeVono, and her LPN assistant, Marissa Arraro, were not administering vaccines. They were selling hundreds of fake cards. Julie DeVono, as owner and operator of Wild Child, is accused of then entering the bogus information into the New York State Health Department database.
She's a licensed practitioner that focuses in on young people. She handles a lot of school children.
Do you know what the motivation was?
I don't know if there's any motivation. I don't even know if she's guilty of any of these allegations.
Prosecutors say the duo sold each purported dose for $220, $440 per card. Children went for $85. It was revealed in the criminal complaint that when investigators searched Julie DeVono's home, they recovered $900,000 in U.S. currency and a ledger documenting profits in excess of $1.5 million over the past 3 months.
Now think about this for a second, man. The COVID vaccine costs you absolutely nothing. The fact that there are people willing to pay that kind of money to get false documentation and then also have that false documentation entered into the state database, and like having that official documentation, knowing that you haven't been vaccinated, like again, this goes back into that whole thing that I was talking about before, where they want all of the benefits of the work without actually putting in the work. So it's almost like, hey man, let me pay you to look at your homework, right? And then you don't actually know any of the motherfucking answers. And so when the test comes up, you don't know the fucking answers to the test and you fail said test. Only this time, man, failing said test could mean somebody losing their fucking life, man. Somebody being in a hospital that doesn't have to be. Somebody being around you and getting this infection that they didn't have to catch only because you refuse to do the fucking bare minimum, bruh. It's crazy.
It's money. They want to make money, so they'll do whatever they can to make money. People are very vulnerable.
Business owners who operate small shops near the clinic said they suspected something untoward was happening with the amount of foot traffic.
It's frightening beyond words, and I'm grateful that it's been put to an end. Break laws, give fake vaccines. It's very disheartening.
The anti-vaccine movement was part of a parents' rights rally on Long Island earlier this week, many taking their children out of school to march for choice when it comes to mask wearing and mandates over COVID-19 vaccines. It's unclear if the accused tried to prey on those views.
They just don't care. They don't believe that this is something that's real. And they see an opportunity and they're going to take it.
Doctors we spoke with say—
Now, the other part about this is that, in New York City, I know that there's a lot of police officers who also are very very much anti-vax. And I can just kind of wonder, the impression that I get of Long Island is that a lot of police officers live on that island. And of course, these two nurses were also living on Long Island. I just kind of wonder how that correlates, right? These anti-vax, nurses with the anti-vax police are like, well, shit, we can make some money doing this. And, it's just weird that especially when it comes to the police officers, how COVID-19 is the number one killer of police officers across the nation, despite, how they talk about, they would talk about how there was more violence against police officers at the start of this year. But even with that, the number one killer of police officers has been COVID-19. And yet and still, we still find people forging vaccination cards, not getting vaccinated, and losing jobs because they just make the choice not to get vaccinated. It's just kind of crazy, man. And they fucked around and found out they got arrested. They made $1.5 million, but was that $1.5 million worth you possibly losing your freedom for however length of time that they may lose their freedom because of this? So yeah, man, that's in fuck around and find out. So that's it. That's one story that we have. Another story that we have here in fuck around and find out has to do with the fact that let's see. Okay, so there's a federal judge that had blocked. Did I save that story? I believe so. Let me see. So there was a federal judge who had blocked a particular lawsuit that New York City municipal workers had put forth to kind of stop their potential termination because they refuse to get vaccinated. Let me see if I can pull this story up. Yeah, a federal judge denies attempt to block the dismissal of unvaccinated New York City workers, and there's video attached to this as well. So let me go ahead and pull this video up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann here too. So yeah, let's do that. And again, this is also in New York. So yeah, check this out, y'all.
Showing up to work on Monday because they are not
come on.
complying with the vaccine mandate for public workers. Roughly 4,000 holdouts had until yesterday to get their shots or face termination, be fired. That amounts to 1% of the workforce. And meantime, the city is offering a new $100 incentive for people to get their shots. Eyewitness News reporter Marcus Solis joins us live from the Upper West Side with more on this. Good morning, Marcus.
Good morning, Michelle. It was a popular program when it initially launched. Some 800,000 gift cards paid out, and now those $100 gift cards are back in play for anyone getting their booster dose. And for those who have not been vaccinated, they can also pick that up for getting their first dose. Now, the city is looking to increase its vaccination rates throughout the city. All New York City residents, all ages, the vaccination rate now almost 76%. And that incentive program will be active through the end of the month to try and drive those numbers up even higher. Now, yesterday, there was a small protest by city workers who had until midnight to show proof of vaccination or else face termination. That number, some 4,000 workers, about 1% of the city's workforce. The deadline passed just hours after the Supreme Court declined to hear an emergency request to block the mandate brought by some city teachers seeking religious exemptions.
I feel betrayed. You know, during peak COVID, we showed up every day, worked in the worst conditions, overtime, endless hours, the time that we put in, and this is how I'm getting thanked.
No, you get like, so again, we talk about choice, right? You're not getting thanked because you think you're being punished because you don't get, like, you won't do what is required for you to keep your job, right? Like there are certain things that we all have to do in order to keep our jobs. There are certain requirements that are required for us to do to keep our jobs. You think you're being punished when really you just made a decision that you don't want to do the thing that is required for you to keep your job. You're not being punished. You just decided to do something different, or you decided that you don't want to do what is required for you to keep your job. The other part about that is this whole religious exemption shit. Like suddenly the sanitation workers and the teachers and the police officers, suddenly they like have y'all come up with a new religion? And what part of this religion, what part of the religion says that you are not required to get vaccinated for, you know, public health? What part of the religion says that? Where did you get that in your religious text? Like suddenly everybody has the same religion. Oh, I'm going for my religious exemption. Like, you know, there's a thing like in food service, right? Like, you know, like if you work in food service, like a lot of times, like you can't have a beard, or if you do have a beard, you have to shave that motherfucker down because, you know, like, and even if you like have your beard for religious purposes and shit, you can't work with the food because nobody wants fucking hair in their food, man. There are certain things that you just can't do, even though you have a religious reason for why you want to do it. Okay, cool. You just can't work here. And it's crazy that like people are having a hard time coming to grips with that. Like, yo, okay, cool. You can do that. You can like have your religion. You can practice your religion however you need to practice it. However, if you want to work here, you can't practice their religion that way here. You may need to find another line of work. And so it's just kind of crazy how they've come up with all these different sorts of mechanisms is to not do their part in the group project, right? Again, the people that they want all of the things, right? They want to be able to go to the baseball game. They want to be able to go to the basketball game or to the concert or to the movie theater. They want to be able to go into the nightclubs. They want to go into the restaurants. They want to do all of these things, but they don't want to do the bare fucking minimum, which is wear the goddamn mask, get yourself vaccinated so that you don't spread this shit to other people. And it's just kind of crazy that they would go to these lengths in order to stop from being able to do it. But yeah, man, that's in fuck around and find out, because the Supreme Court ultimately decided that they would not, they would not halt the city of New York's efforts to possibly remove them from their positions because they did not want to adhere to the regulations that, you got to get vaccinated. And there were some people who got the jobs under the auspices of like, you got to get vaccinated by a certain point, otherwise you're going to lose this fucking job. And even those people are a part of the protest. Like, come on, man, what the fuck are you doing? You know, so that's in Fuck Around and Find Out. Another story that we got here in Fuck Around and Find Out has to do with the fact that hold on a second. Greg's in the chat room. Spann, that woman's husband was and is a cop. That's crazy. See, goddamn, I knew it.
I'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle.
I knew it, man. I knew there had to be some sort of motherfucking connection between the fucking police and her. And it's because it's Long Island, man. I heard in New York, like Long Island is where the cops go live. You know what I'm saying? I've never been to New York like that, but I heard that like Long Island is where they go. That's where like the cops go to live and shit. So it's like a safe haven for police and shit. But that is crazy. That is motherfucking crazy. Also, it's crazy that these people don't want to get the goddamn shot. That's crazy to me. But yo, man, that's in Fuck Around and Find Out. Another story that we got here, Fuck Around and Find Out, has to do with another, a police officer. Well, a former police officer. He was a state trooper in the state of Washington. His name was it Robert LeMay? He decided that he did not want to adhere to the vaccine mandate that the governor had laid down. He's now dead at the age of 51 of coronavirus. Yeah, we get the story here that ironically comes out of Fox News. Dig that. So it says, former trooper Robert LeMay, 51, who served 22 years with the State Patrol and retired last October, died on Friday. LeMay garnered attention from Americans across the country after he signed off for the last time as an officer and told Washington Governor Jay Inslee that he can kiss my ass over forced vaccine mandates. Following LeMay's death, Washington State Patrol Chief John R. Baptiste released a statement praising him for his service, which Batiste said will be long remembered and appreciated. I am deeply saddened over the news that our former friend and colleague, Trooper Robert LeMay, has passed away, Batiste said. The agency's prayers and remembrances are with his family and with loved ones. Rob served honorably for over 2 decades, and we are disappointed to see him leave the agency this past October. His service to the state and agency will be long remembered and appreciated. Let us now remember our friend, support his family and loved ones, give thanks for his service, and resolve to meet the challenges ahead with continuing duty, dignity, and respect. In his final sign-off last October, LeMay said he had worked sick and buried a lot of friends over the past 22 years of his service to the state. Now, I thought it was important for me to read this from Fox News because there's, of course, a different bend, a different spin on how they report that shit. This dude told the governor to kiss his ass when he signed off for the last time because the governor said, hey, man, if you're going to be working in public service, you need to be vaccinated. And this motherfucker was like, nah, fuck you. Fuck your goddamn vaccination. I ain't doing it. Kiss my ass. And then what was this? What is happening? October? Told the governor to kiss his ass in October. In fucking January, he was dead. In January, he was dead. So we talk again about like the number one killer of police across the country is not fucking violence. It's not people shooting at the cops. It's COVID-19. These motherfuckers don't want to get the goddamn shot. And they deal with people every day. You are in strangers' faces every fucking day. And you out here talking about your goddamn freedom. Yeah, you lived up to your principles and shit, right? I guess I can give you that. You lived up to your principles. However, did this motherfucker go to a hospital? They didn't say whether or not he went to a hospital or not. But I'm sure he went to a hospital. And I'm sure they'll say people that he went to go, help him get better would have probably told him to get a fucking vaccination. And he ignored all of that information. He ignored all of that advice, right? I'm sure they told him that. And now, what good are your principles when you're dead? How does that help your family with you being dead? It's the most selfish shit in the fucking world, man. It's the most selfish thing in the world. And so, he fucked around and found out that COVID don't give a fuck about your politics. COVID don't give a fuck how you feel about any of it. He's like, oh, nigga, you calling for me? You don't want to fight against me? All right, I got something for your ass. And COVID came to see that motherfucker and took him out. As it's done to almost 1 million people in America now, man. Like, think about this for a second. We losing almost, I think they said like almost like 1,100 people every day. Like, think about that. Like, just for this one fucking, as much as they talk about how COVID is nothing but the flu, like how often, nigga, we ain't never seen 1,000 people a day dropping from the flu. We've never seen these numbers, man. Not here in this country, not in the, however long this, however old this country is. I wonder if it was like 300 years or something, like 250 or something. Y'all know what I mean. But the fact that people are really going off on this whole my freedom. I want to die for my freedom. Like, okay, COVID, like, all right, we're gonna see. And COVID is winning. Because a lot of y'all are checking out. And some of y'all really should be here. But because y'all, y'all are falling for some bullshit rhetoric, a lot of y'all are like dropping like flies by the wayside. And it's like, even though I'm not necessarily politically aligned with these folks, man, like, it's still like it's fucked up, especially for the people who in their family who like, yo, man, like, you on some bullshit right now. We need you, Dad. Like, what the fuck? Right? You kind of feel sorry for those folks. But yeah, man, that's been fucking around and find out. Well, we're out here denying COVID-19, and we don't really want your goddamn vaccine, but we will jump on TikTok searching for cloud. So I guess you could say we fucked around and found out. We fucked around and found out. Fuck around and find out. Oh, fuck around and find out. Yeah. Yeah, buddy. Not to toot my own horn and shit, but that's a goddamn bop. I'm sorry, man. That's a goddamn bop, for real. But y'all know what time it is, man.
That I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free.
Yeah, that's enough of that shit. It's proud to be an American time here at the Spirit Report podcast, man. And our first story here in Proud to be an American has to do with the fact that in Missouri, man, they on some bullshit, man. For real, Missouri is on some bullshit. Missouri got a goddamn law that they're trying to push through their legislature that says deadly force can be used, and every time it's used, the person who uses the deadly force can assert self-defense. God damn! Yeah, man. We get this story here that comes out of the newsleader.com. It says a Southwest Missouri senator has proposed a bill that would expand the right to shoot and kill someone in the name of self-defense in the state. The legislation proposed by Senator Eric Burleson, a battlefield Republican, was panned by law enforcement, civil rights activists, religious leaders, and Democrats in a Senate hearing Tuesday morning. The proposals assigned Senate Bill number 666, the irony of that, would change Missouri law to presume that all cases of physical or deadly force were unnecessary for self-defense unless proven otherwise. Under current state law, the person who used or threatened deadly force is required to prove that they believed it was necessary. Burleson, who was running for Southwest Missouri open congressional seat this year, said the bill was designed to prevent Missourians from acts of overzealous prosecutors. Prosecutors and members of law enforcement voiced strong opposition to the bill. Russ Oliver, the Stoddard County prosecutor who represented the Missouri Association of Prosecuting Attorneys, said he referred to the bill as the Make Murder Legal Act. What's interesting about this is that Republicans oftentimes present themselves as the party of law and order. Remember, Donald Trump was out here, I am your president of law and order. He wasn't the president of any goddamn thing, really. He was the president of a lot of anarchy and fucking disharmony and, bullshit. But they presented themselves as the party of law and order. And so it's very interesting that now you have Republicans actually presenting legislation that would allow for people to legally kill someone. And like, in order for law enforcement to even credibly come after that person, they have to prove that it wasn't self-defense for that person to kill someone. This is coming from the people who claim that they are the party of law and order. It says, I don't even know where to start with the problems on this bill, Oliver said, adding that he believed it would make it impossible to convict a great number of people from assault. Oliver said he believes the bill, as currently written, would add at least 3, if not 4, additional hearings to the prosecution process, exacerbating a system that is already running behind due to the years-long pandemic. Law enforcement lobbying group Sheriffs United Missouri, as well as the Missouri Fraternal Order of Police, also oppose the bill. Now, I think about this for a second. You've jumped the shark when the Fraternal Order of Police is like, I don't know, bro. This some bullshit right here, man. Like this right here, I don't know, man. Like imagine like the left and Democrats and the Fraternal Order of Police finding themselves on the same side of an issue. You jumped the shark when that happens. It says Burleson sponsored the Second Amendment Preservation Act, Burleson sponsored the Second Amendment Preservation Act, which was signed into law last year and has been criticized by law enforcement for making it more difficult to prosecute certain gun crimes. The law nullifies certain federal gun statutes and has seen legal pushback. Mark McCluskey, a St. Louis attorney and Republican candidate for U.S. Senate who earned national headlines when he and his wife pointed guns at protesters outside their home in 2020, voiced support for the bill. Now, I don't know if you guys remember that, but during the racial reckoning in St. Louis, there were a group of protesters who were walking through a really affluent neighborhood. I believe they were on their way to the mayor's house in St. Louis, and Mark McCluskey and his wife comes out of their home where they were perfectly okay, perfectly sane, perfectly safe, and they came out and greeted those protesters. He had an AR-15 in his hand. His wife had a pistol in her hand. Neither one of them looked like as if they were like, very experienced in like how to handle those weapons. They look very fucking like scared and all this other shit. Like, you take your scary ass back in the house, right? Because those folks weren't coming for them. They were going to the mayor's house. But a law like this would allow for someone like a Mark McCluskey to fire upon said protesters and not get any sort of legal repercussions, because he can claim self-defense. He can claim, I was scared for my life, in much the same way that a lot of police officers claim that they were scared for their life to justify the killing of unarmed people more often than not. This is usually what they say. I was afraid for my life. And then they try to figure out a way to justify it on the back end. And so a law like this would allow someone like a Mark McCluskey to do the same thing that the police have been doing and gunning down unarmed people. Okay. So, yeah, man, it's just like interesting. Like, what I tend to see happening with some of the rollback of a lot of like, with implementations of laws like this and some of the rollback of some of the, civil rights and everything is like, yo, man, they really, 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 really are trying to pull it back to where they can do whatever the fuck they want to anybody and not get any sort of the repercussions. And also on the flip side of that, when these laws are actually applied, when these laws are actually on the books, how often do you get a chance to see minority groups take advantage of these certain types of laws? How often do you get a chance to see that? Very seldom do you get a chance to see that. And so it's really interesting to watch these laws come up, especially considering the fact that, again, these are Republicans, and Republicans like to tout themselves as the party of law and order. This is nothing but a law of fucking anarchy. Nothing more, nothing less. So yeah, man, that's in Proud to Be an American. Another story that we got here in Proud to Be an American. So, over the course of the last few weeks, we've been seeing, legislatures across the country attempt to ban CRT, critical race theory, even despite the fact that critical race theory isn't being taught in the schools. Essentially, what they've allowed, what they've allowed the CRT to become is anything that has to deal with American history that doesn't perpetuate the mythology of American history. And so you can ban CRT, which means that like anything that hasn't been whitewashed, we ain't really fucking with. You can't teach that to our kids. Our kids have been taught this propaganda. Goddamn it, we want to keep the propaganda going. And so part of that has been, you stop at the Black history and everything else, right? But that doesn't mean that it's going to stop there. You start there, and then other things start to come into play. And so there has been a push to ban books out of certain libraries in the schools, to ban certain libraries and certain books out of certain curricula out of the schools. And so part of that has now is moved from like just the critical race theory sort of thing into the LGBTQ realm. And so there was a man in Missouri who has been a big proponent of banning books that have to do with the LGBTQ community. And now that guy is facing felony molestation charges in the state of Missouri.
That'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle.
Yeah, man. So we get the story here. This comes out of NBCnews.com. It says a Missouri man who sought to ban several LGBTQ books from schools for depicting sexual content is now facing a felony charge of second-degree child molestation. Ryan Utterback, a 29-year-old parent from a suburb of Kansas City, also faces a misdemeanor charge of fourth-degree domestic assault and, in a separate case, a misdemeanor of furnishing or attempting to furnish pornographic material to a minor. Utterback has spoken at a school board meeting in November, as first reported by local news station KMBC, an ABC affiliate, to advocate for the removal of books in North Kansas City school libraries that depicted sexual acts. During another school board meeting in October, Utterback held up in large prints of 2 pages from the award-winning graphic memoir From Home, a family tragicomic. While a member of a parent association fighting for the ban spoke, arguing that handing the material to a child amounts to solicitation of a minor. Accusations against Utterback, according to court documents, describe a separate instances in 2020 in which he allegedly touched a 12-year-old girl under her clothes and rubbed the teenager's leg underneath her jeans. Another case alleged in 2021 that he showed pornographic video footage to a child starting from when she was around 4 years old. So, again, like a lot of it is like the hypocrisy of all of it, right? We talk about the hypocrisy in a lot of these culture wars, especially concerning a lot of the policies that Republicans are trying to put forth in not only the state legislatures, but in our federal legislatures and everything else, but the people who are promoting this shit, right? Like, they go out and they'll come out strongly against a certain thing, and they'll be participants in said thing. So you're worried about these children being exposed to the LGBTQ lifestyle or whatever, but you're not necessarily opposed to them becoming exposed to sexual activity, especially if that sexual activity includes you. And so it's like it's weird, man, like to kind of watch these folks be the spokespeople of these social movements, knowing or like finding out later that they have some proclivities that would like how should we say, exclude them from being able to have this conversation in a good faith way. It says accusations against Utterback, according to court documents, describe a separate instance. Oh, I already read that part. Utterback is next due in court on March 10th. His attorney David Bell declined to comment on the record. So yeah, man, like he's out and about trying to get these books banned from the schools, and that's the other part about this, man. It's like they don't want the kids to know this. But the interesting thing about a lot of this stuff is like the kids are already there. A lot of the kids are already aware of some of the things that these parents are trying to keep them from knowing, are trying to keep them from accessing knowledge on. A lot of the time, like the kids are much more tolerant. The kids are much more accepting of someone of a different lifestyle, someone of a different race. Like all of the bigotries are learned. They are taught to these kids. These kids don't grow up with the innate hate of anybody that is different from them. They are taught this shit by the adults in their lives. And that's why it's incumbent upon us to not be as ignorant as the world in a lot of cases, right? To not be as ignorant as the world, especially like depending on the type of child that you're raising. Give you a perfect example. A couple of weeks ago, I was on Facebook, and it's like a Detroit group, and there was a post about Zaya Wade, Dwayne Wade's trans daughter, and someone, like a lot of the people were in the chat room, and they were talking about Zaya Wade's wearing of dresses and everything. And like you had a bunch of parents in there, quote unquote parents in this group, and they were talking about, you know, that's the problem. These kids are just doing whatever the hell it is they want to do. You can't do that in my house. You ain't gonna do whatever it is you want to do in my house. And it was odd to me to listen or to read a lot of those responses, because I'm like, yo, so y'all just think that Dwayne Wade doesn't discipline his child at all? And, you know, you don't know what kind of discipline Dwayne Wade employs when he's dealing with Zaya. You don't have any idea, because you don't really know these people. Like, we don't know these folks at all. And so their contention was that Zaya was just making these decisions on her own, and that like Dwayne Wade and the Gabrielle Union were just allowing it or whatever else. And one guy comes on and he's like, yo, they were going to get Zaya Wade's penis cut off until Lil Boosie said something, right? Like just yeah, because Lil Boosie said something. Like, that's kind of crazy. Like, really? Y'all really thinking that Zaya Wade genitalia rested on the opinion of Lil Boosie? But the interesting thing about that was, like, you know, they were talking about, you know, Lil Boosie and I'm kind of like looking at this like, man, you really are looking at Lil Boosie as if he's like this paragon of virtue. Lil Boosie, who actually promoted the fact that he got his son and his nephew oral sex when they were minors, and he got an adult woman to do it. And they said something to the effect of that was a parental choice, right? So what Lil Boosie did was a parental choice. Therefore, what Lil Boosie did was wrong. And so then I had to ask this dude. I'm like, so okay. So even if so let's go with this argument that you got that it's because it's a parental choice and the child isn't just doing whatever the fuck it is they want, right? Let's say this is a parental choice. So are you telling me that if you had a daughter and your daughter's mom decided that it was time for her to get some oral sex from a grown man, you would be okay with that? And suddenly I'm changing the subject. And how do we get from Zaya Wade to me having the daughter and the mom? I'm just using your example against you. If you had a daughter, would it be okay if her mom decided that it was all right for her to get oral sex from a grown man? Would you be okay with that? And again, he couldn't answer the question. He refused to answer the question because we both knew what the fuck the answer to the question was. He wouldn't be. So this idea that like it's solely about what the parents want, and these kids have no idea who they are and how they are going to be, is bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. And oftentimes as parents, we inflict or we project all of our insecurities, we project all of our ignorances onto our kids and expect that our kids are supposed to be exact clones of who we are and how we grew up. And that's never going to be the case. Your kids are always going to be a little bit different than you. They're never going to do everything the same way that you did. They're going to learn different ways of the world. The world isn't the same that it was when you were growing up. So like, it's just kind of weird how we go from that. And like, we have parents like this dude who was worried about children learning of the LGBTQ experience while he's calling these people deviants, and like he's basically participating in deviant activity himself. And so yeah, man, it just made me think of that, and that's in Proud to Be an American, man. Our last story here in Proud to Be an American has to deal with the fact that Ron DeSantis came to the defense of we spoke about Joe Rogan earlier today and his use of the N-word. Well, Ron DeSantis is out here saying that he don't have to apologize for saying that shit. Yeah, man. So we get the story here. This comes out of Newsweek.com. It says the Republican Florida governor, Ron DeSantis, agrees with former President Donald Trump, saying embattled Spotify podcast host Joe Rogan shouldn't apologize for using the N-word. Rogan has been under fire for spreading COVID-19 misinformation on his podcast, the Joe Rogan Experience, and is also facing backlash for using the N-word repeatedly in the past, which was displayed in a viral compilation video. Though Rogan has apologized for his racially insensitive comments, conservatives, including Trump and DeSantis, have stepped up to defend him. In a statement released Monday, Trump said that Rogan has got to stop apologizing to the fake news and radical left maniacs and lunatics amid the controversy. How many ways can you say you're sorry? Trump said. Joe, just go about what you do so well, and don't let them make you look weak and frightened. That's not what it is. That's not you, and it never will be. DeSantis echoed Trump's view on an interview with Fox News, saying Rogan shouldn't have apologized for his previous comments. Do not apologize. Do not cow to the mob. Stand up and tell them to pound sand. If you do that, there will really nothing they will be able to do to you. The only way they have power is if you let them get your goat. DeSantis also defended Rogan for his controversial comments surrounding COVID-19 pandemic. DeSantis said Rogan is giving people opposing views and the information they need to make their own choices. No, he shouldn't have apologized. I mean, you see what happens, DeSantis said. The mob will come after people, and they're targeting Rogan because he's threatening to upset the apple cart on some of the things that they're holding dear. And with COVID, he's just bringing opposing views. So the whole idea that it doesn't surprise me that like Trump would say like, no, he shouldn't apologize, because Trump never apologized for any motherfucking thing. The fact that DeSantis is saying that he shouldn't apologize for using the N-word, despite the fact that like black people are like, hey man, that's fucked up. You shouldn't be doing that. This kind of reminds me of some shit that we kind of heard about Ron DeSantis when he was running for governor back in 2018?
Now, I'm not calling Mr. DeSantis a racist. I'm simply saying the racists believe he's a racist.
Yeah, man. Like we're not surprised by what we're hearing from Ron DeSantis right now. Like the dude is actually being who lots of us thought he was. Like, the interesting thing is like a lot of the racists out here doing racist shit, but they never really actually want to be called racist. It's kind of funny how that works, right? But yo, man, that has been Proud to Be an American.
That I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free.
Yeah, but y'all know what time it is.
The champ is here. The champ is here. The champ is here. The champ is here.
All right. It's Champ of the Week time here at the Spirit Report podcast, man. And our Champ of the Week here at the show, man, is none other than my wife, Mrs. Spann, and my daughter. My daughter, it's her 19th birthday. My daughter's 19th birthday was yesterday. So, like, first things first, man, I feel old as shit. The fact that my daughter is 19 and her birthday present, she asked me for a car. So, yeah, that's a thing, man. But, like, honestly, though, I'm just proud of the fact that I'm proud of the young woman that my daughter has become. I'm proud of her willingness to work, man. My daughter is like, yo, man, she be out here trying to get these jobs and shit. She be like, yo, man, I'm out here like, Daddy, I need some pants. Like, I need to get to this new gig. And I'm like, all right, baby, I got you. You know what I'm saying? My daughter doesn't really want to sit around, you know, she just kind of wants to get out and get it. And I'm appreciative of the fact that she has a work ethic and that she wants to get out and be an independent woman in that way. And so I appreciate my daughter in that way. And I'm also just proud to say that I'm her dad. Like, that's just what it is. And like I said, yeah, I love that little girl. But also, Mrs. Spann, my wife, first of all, it's Valentine's Day. So there's that. But also, so the new equipment that we got, I'm sitting here with a Rodecaster. I'm sorry, a Rode Procaster and shit, right? So I had a different mixer, and like, yo, that mixer served me well for a good little while, right? And I had been thinking about getting a Rode Procaster for a little while, man. We was in the Best Buy some time ago. I picked it up and I looked at the price. I'm like, not right now, not yet. And I looked up. I came home from work. It was a real long day at work. I probably worked, it might have been like 16, 17 hours at the job. And when I came home from work that night, my wife was already in the bed. I went to go greet her, and she said, oh, yeah, there was a package that came. I put it in your office. And I knew I didn't order anything, right? I'm like, a package came. And lo and behold, man, my wife had went and got me a motherfucking Rodecaster Pro, man. And so, yeah, I was like, you know, like, I appreciate the fact that my wife supports the podcast and like what we're doing here. And like in a real tangible way, right? Because this is something I have been thinking about purchasing for a long time, and so I appreciate that she just said fuck it and went on ahead and copped that for me and surprised your boy, man. Because I really wasn't expecting it, and so shout out to Mrs. Spann, my wife. I love you, baby, and I appreciate you. And happy Valentine's Day. I love you so much, real talk. But before we get on up out of here, man, of course, I got to remind you guys how to get in touch with us here at the Spirit Report podcast and let your voice be heard. You can go ahead and hit us up on our hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. Leave us those voicemail messages, and of course, those messages will get played here and replied to here live on the show. You can also email us here at feedback@thespanreport.com. That's feedback@thespanreport.com. Go ahead, read us those emails, and of course, those emails will get read here, replied to here live as well. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spann. So go ahead, follow me there, chop it up with your man Spann throughout the week. Also, hit us up at our website at www.thespanreport.com. You can go there, watch replays of the show. You can donate to the show as often as you like, as much as you like, and we appreciate every dime over here at the Spirit Report Podcast Network. You can also go to our store over there, cop yourself some merch. Get yourself a t-shirt or a hoodie or maybe even a wife beater, get yourself something. We really appreciate everybody who does that. Wear it and like you can rock that shit and like put it on social media, let everybody know why you rock with us over here at the Spirit Report Podcast Network. Also, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and or Stitcher Radio. Those 5-star reviews are the ones that get read here live on the show. We really appreciate everybody who does about the business of doing that. Doesn't cost you a dime, just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Spirit Report Podcast Network, man. But yo, man, I've been running my mouth for quite some time here, man, like an hour and 52 minutes or so. So yeah, we've been talking for a little while, man. And I will talk to you guys again soon. But until next time, fam, peace.